Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Larry Bodenheimer, and today we're going to be taking a look at AgentTesla. AgentTesla is actually a family of 32-bit remote access Trojans for Windows operating systems. If we could take a look at VirusTotal, we can see that the first submission for this one was a little under 4 hours ago, and the last submission was about 9 minutes ago by yours truly. And of course, the creation time is 2046, obviously falsified. So with this only being submitted 4 hours ago, it already has 39 detections. However, this doesn't surprise me because AgentTesla samples are so old and usually don't have much variety, so it doesn't surprise me that it has this many detections. If we take a look over here, we could see the popular threat label is Trojan.MSIL/AgentSLA for AgentTesla. Threat categories is Trojan, and family labels are MSAL, Agent, SLA, and Frax. We've got a bunch of tags on this one. We've got portable executable, calls WMI, clipboard, detects debug environment, assembly, persistence, checks BIOS, checks network adapters, checks user input, long sleeps, and spreader. If we take a look down here, we can see that this is detected by AVG, Avast, Bitdefender, CrowdStrike Falcon. I'm only going to call out the major ones, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this. We've also got GData, ESET, Google, Kaspersky. Of course, if neither Kaspersky or Bitdefender detected this, I'd be very concerned. Malwarebytes has one. It's just Malpack, which makes me think it's a generic variant, maybe AI generated, but it's there. We've got one from McAfee, one from Microsoft, and one from Symantec and Sophos as well. So let's see if there's any big names that are not detecting this. We've got Avira again. Avira's detections have been really bad on VirusTotal lately. BCAF Pro does not detect it, which they detect almost everything, so that's interesting. ClamAV. What else do we have around here? Does WebRoot? No, WebRoot does not have a detection. So this is very interesting that all three, Avira, ClamAV, and BCAF Pro, don't have signatures for it. Just something to keep in mind. If we go to details, here's your MD5, your SHA-1, and your SHA-256 for the video. Again, this will be in the comment section down below, so you don't have to type it in if you want to follow along. And if we go to relations, we can see there's one contacted URL. It's apify.org. We also have the same one here in contacted domains with 2 detections. And then we have s4.serve00.com with 8 detections. We have 6 contacted IP addresses. 3 of them have 1 detection, and this one, out of, I believe, Poland, has 2 detections. 1 execution parent, and it's acrobat.exe, so it's probably just executing itself. And the dropped file is acrobat.exe, so no doubt it's also dropping a copy of itself. If we go to associations, we can see that Jaffa Cakes has posted an association for this, a collection of files, URLs, IPs, and domains related to the malware AgentTesla. Again, I don't spend much time on behavior on this channel, but if you don't want to follow along on your own and want to see it for yourself, now's your chance to do so. We do have 2 sandbox detections. Cape Sandbox flags it as malware, and Zenbox flags it as malware, stealer, Trojan, and evader. If we go down here, we can see that we have 4 medium crowdsourced Sigma rules and 2 low crowdsourced IDS rules. And if we go to community, we can see Jaffa, Joe Security, and Petic have all been here. Let's go ahead and minimize this and show the tools that we'll be using for this video. We have System Informer, ready to go. Process Monitor, which I will enable now. Wireshark, which I will also enable now. And Zooey. Last but not least, let's take a look at the properties for this file. We see a very realistic Acrobat icon. It is called acrobat.exe. If we go to details, we can see that this looks quite legitimate. This would probably fool me. So it's Acrobat, file version 24.5.0.0, believable. Same with the product version. Copyright 1984 to 2024, Adobe Systems Incorporated. Okay. Size 1.65 megabytes. And original file name acrobat.exe. The only thing that is throwing me off is that it doesn't have a certificate. But then again, I don't know if the original acrobat.exe has a certificate associated with it because I don't use Acrobat. So to me, this is extremely believable. So they did a good job on masking this. I'll give them some points for that. And now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and pull up System Informer and run the malware. Do you want to allow this app from an unknown publisher to make changes to your device? Now, I'm sure that unknown publisher would not show up for acrobat.exe. If we show details, this doesn't really show much. So, yeah, I'll run that. Immediately, we can see acrobat.exe running in the background, and CTFmon has also opened under servicehost.exe. We're going to keep an eye on it, but I'm also going to move process monitor over here. We're really going to do this today, aren't we? All right, we're going to move that to the left side of the screen, and I'm going to go ahead and get two filters ready. The first filter we're going to do is operation is create file. And the second filter is acrobat.exe. Now, if you were paying close attention, you should have noticed that not only did this get closed out of Explorer and get opened again, reopened down here at the bottom with a different process ID. At least I think it's a different process ID, it should be. But it also popped up something down here just for a second. I didn't even get to see what the icon was. But if you were looking closely, you saw something open on the taskbar and immediately get closed again. So we'll go ahead and click apply on these filters, and then once we do, I'm going to pause this so we don't run out of memory. Go ahead and click OK. And as you can see, we have 926 events, so quite a bit to look through. I'm going to go ahead and expand this to about here. That way, if a new program does open, we'll be able to see it. And we're going to expand the path to about here so we can see what was added. So we have a bunch of DLLs that are being called. These are all standard Windows DLLs that we've seen a billion times in the channel. Immediately, though, we can see it's accessing .NET Framework, which means that it probably is written in assembly, if I had to guess. We can see there's a .config file, however, it was deleted, according to Process Monitor. We keep scrolling down, we got some .localgax, machine.config. So yes, I'm willing to believe that this was written in assembly. We keep going, .NET Framework, and then a bunch of DLLs and INIs. Windows Forms.ini, I've seen that before, System Drawing.ini. So these are standard. Not really anything that looks custom for the malware itself. However, we do come down here and we see fusio.resources.dll and .exe. Now, this says the entire path was not found, and that does seem to be the case. It does seem that the malware has actually managed to delete its own Fusio thing, which I'm not entirely sure what that is. We tried to jump to this over here. It was in the desktop, so I knew it wasn't there, but, you know, we always like to be thorough on this channel. We can also see that in the Windows Defender directory, there was a new DLL that was added. If I had to guess, this was probably added to disable the Windows Defender. And now I have no proof of that, but maybe these weren't added, maybe these were just modified, but it definitely did do a lot of modifications to Windows Defender. Very interesting stuff there. We can see we're in the Visual Basic directory now with gacmsil. It's accessing acrobat.exe again. We'll keep scrolling down here, and eventually we should start seeing some pretty interesting things that are reminiscent of another malware family we've seen on the channel before, but it's not entirely the same. So if we keep scrolling down, these are just a bunch of DLLs, not really much we'll be able to tell from that. Cryptbase, WBEM, so we're in the sysfile64 directory now. We're back to Windows Defender, and we're calling a bunch of new DLLs. Okay. We're now checking to see the language pack of the machine, which is English US. That's the one I'm using. I do also have English UK, though. So it's probably just calling the active resource pack, or the primary one. And we can see adobe.exe. Okay, so app data roaming adobe.exe. Let's check if that's still here. I'll just jump to the Adobe directory first. It is here, but it's hidden. So if we open it, we can see adobe.exe, which is also supposed to be hidden. Surprisingly, the Flash Player folder is not. Native cache, okay, there's nothing in here. And just to make sure, I'm going to try to re-upload this, but I'm sure it's the same malware. Yes, it is. Just vented to be sure and thorough. We'll go ahead and minimize this again. So that is going to be Adobe. And we keep going down, and here's what's reminiscent of some older malware that we've seen on the channel. So if we scroll down, we can see that it's now looking for a bunch of new folders. You're going to start seeing a bunch of path not founds. So we've got a desktop/C. I'm not entirely sure what that is, but we're going to move past that. It's looking for Opera, Yandex, Iridium, Chromium, 7-Star, Torch, Maple Studio Chrome Plus, not sure what that is, Kameda, Amigo, Brave, Scent Browser, Shadot, Orbitum, Sputnik, Komodo, Vivaldi, Catalina Group with Citrio. I guess Citrio is the name of the browser. A bunch of browsers I've never heard of before. 360 Chrome, Uran, Libao, Elements, Epic, Cock, Sleipnir 5, Kipsurf, Ku1, and then we go to things like Google Chrome, and Microsoft Edge, and then Mozilla Firefox, which it is going to find some of these. It's also going to find these as well, because every Windows computer comes with Edge. But it's also going to find some of these, because I use Firefox. And then we're just calling random ones again. SeaMonkey, Thunderbird, that's the Mozilla email client. Netgate Technologies Blackhawk. I'm assuming that's another browser, because IceCat's down here. But I have never heard of this. 8PEC Studios with CyberFox. I'm going to have to look some of these up after the video. IceCat, and then Pale Moon. I know that's a browser. Ice Dragon, WaterFox, another Mozilla browser, Postbox, and Flock. And then we're calling some more DLLs, and if we keep going down, we're looking for a bunch of credentials with Microsoft. So if we go past that, we're now looking for QQ Browser, Falcon, Flock, The Bat, Clawsmail, and OperaMail, and the Virtual Store for Windows with Foxmail. Okay. We got PocoMail as well, EM Client, Mailbird, FileZilla, and then here's where things start to get really bad, because it's going to start looking for some FTP clients. So we got Flash FXP, FTP List, and FTP Commander Deluxe. FTP List again, Commander Deluxe, and yep, other things like that. Now, if you're not entirely sure what this is reminiscent of, this is reminiscent of Luma Stealer, and we've actually taken a look at a few different samples from the Luma family that were unique enough to be put on the channel. And it does look for your browsers and FTP. Something it does do that this malware does not seem to do, at least as of yet, is it looks for your cryptocurrency wallets and miners and things like that. This does not seem to do that. However, it is looking for other things. So if we start here, it's trying to access NordVPN and then private internet access. I'm not sure what that's with. It's also looking for an account.json, but then it's looking for Ultra VNC and then Discord. So I'm assuming it could only be looking for your Discord account information, like your tokens, Discord Canary, Discord PTB, and then we got some other things here as well. So Trillion, Psy, MySQL, JDownloader, Thunderbird again, and that seems to be about all of the programs. It's calling some system drawings, and then it seems to be done once it gets to accessibility. So that's going to be that for this. We could look at Adobe.exe because we saw that on here as well. So let's go ahead and go to... hello? Don't do that again. Adobe.exe. Apply. It shouldn't take too long. And no, Adobe.exe didn't actually do anything. I'm assuming if this has persistence, the Adobe.exe is going to be what starts up with persistence once we restart the computer. Now, we've not seen anything that directly accesses the startup directory yet, but I can only assume one of the DLLs or the installed programs that came with this malware are what's doing it in such a way that we're not able to actually see it in Process Monitor. So what we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and minimize Process Monitor. We're going to move this to about half the screen. We're going to go ahead and go to Wireshark. We don't have a lot of information, surprisingly. But we're going to go ahead and stop it here. We're going to save it as 1. We're going to start a new packet capture. We're going to pull up Zooey, import data, and we're going to go to Documents and have it start analyzing this. And then I'm going to open a new Wireshark instance as well, because while it's scanning that, I want to see if there's any IP addresses or any information that just immediately catches my eye. So we're going to open 1.pcap this 20 is a Microsoft IP, so that's fine. It could be directly related to the malware, but not really any proof of that. We've got some 34s, which are doing TCP retransmission, but I'm going to try to look past that. Now, here's what's catching my eye, the 40.126. So let me pull up relations, and let's go down here. It doesn't say that it's one of the contacted IP addresses, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is. So we'll keep going. 204 is fine, it's only been caught a few times. The 35s are what I'm suspicious of, but I'm looking for a specific one, which we may not see contacted, because this may be a case of it having multiple C2s, and maybe the 213 was shut down, but a new one's been open for it. It is possible. Now, this is with Quick, so I kind of doubt that this has anything to do with malware. But I'm looking for a 213, and I don't see anything to do with a 213. We got a bunch of Quick information being sent back and forth, though. I don't know if AgentTesla does anything with the Quick protocol. It is possible. So let's pull this up again. And no, it's not one of the contacted IP addresses. We do have a 2.3. And you know, I believe I saw a 2.3 earlier. So we'll scroll all the way through the rest of this, and then if we don't find anything, I'm going to go back up to the top. Yeah, the 2.3 right here at the very beginning. 2.379.181.149. That's not the same one, though. It's a 2.3.216. But that doesn't necessarily mean that this 2.3 that we just saw is entirely innocent. So next we're going to go ahead and take a look at Zooey. Go ahead and put this in full screen and click Query Pool. We have 159 rows, and we're looking for alerts. Is it Suricata? Yeah, Suricata app layer wrong direction. We can ignore all those. Here we go. ET info external IP address lookup domain ipfi.org. And the destination IP address is 172.67.74.152. That is one of the contacted IP addresses, so that's for IPFI. Not directly malicious on its own, and not the C2. But we don't have any direct information that relates to AgentTesla related rat activity. So, something to keep in mind. The 213.189.52.181 though. Let's go ahead and pull up Wireshark. We do have a new instance here. Actually, no, that's the old instance. So we're looking for a 213. I'm not just going to go looking through the sources for it again. We're going to do ip.addr equals 213.189.52.181. Now, we have no information on it with the new packet capture, so let's check the old one. And it's 213.189.52.181. And we can't see that there's any information being sent back and forth between the server. It has been up for 4 hours now, so it is possible that the server's actually gone down. Malware URL and SOC Radar flag it as malicious, while Alpha Mountain and ArcSight flag it as suspicious. It has a VPN tag. So we're going to try to connect to it directly, which probably won't work. It never does. Open SSH on FreeBSD. It is possible that it's trying to open an SSH connection with our network and our machine. I didn't see any proof of that in Process Explorer or Wireshark or Zooey, but it is a possibility. However, we also didn't see any connections to this particular IP address, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not one with the same thing trying to connect to our system. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a 213, which is where you really have to start looking in depth to... Oh, that's me trying to connect to it just now. I was like, hang on. But that was me trying to directly connect to it. So that has nothing to do with what we just saw. But yeah, it could be anything, right? A completely different IP address that is doing what this is doing, just not the one that we have here. And IP addresses on these, they change hands all the time. So that doesn't surprise me either. We saw that it dropped adobe.exe, and it did access Adobe or acrobat.exe. So there's not really much else we can do in this case. I think the last thing that we do is go ahead and restart the computer. But now that we've accessed that IP address, let's try this. I'm going to stop the packet capture here, and we're going to save it as 2. Now, if we see some alerts towards the end of this packet capture, that's not really going to matter because I accessed that IP address myself. However, if we see some alerts in the beginning, then, okay, we probably tried to connect to something malicious, or something malicious tried to connect to us, or was successful in doing so. But if it's towards the end, since this is in packet order, then it's our own doing, right? But this is really the last thing that we can look at. After this, probably the only thing we can do is restart, see if it does have persistence. In this case, I'm willing to believe that it does. But I'm also interested to see what file that it opens on startup, because I believe it's going to open that Adobe program. Could be wrong. Been wrong before. And I'm not an expert by any means, but it's just a thought. We have some alert 3s here. Now remember, I did not access IPify directly. App player mismatch both directions. Okay. That alert looks a little new, but that's still suricata. That doesn't have anything to do with the malware. And we're getting a bunch of these. Oh yeah, we're getting a lot of the same exact things. We're going to ignore the alert 3s. Except maybe this one? No. And that's it. So even when we tried to connect to that OpenSSH server directly, it didn't do anything. So the last thing that we can do is restart the computer, quickly open our system informer, and see what is happening on system startup. At least it's not like the last video, where when I restarted the computer, most of my system32 folder had been deleted. At least that's what I'm assuming had happened. Alright, video tools, system informer. And let's maximize this and see what we can see. Now, if it's smart, and it is AgentTesla, then it's probably going to spawn up here in services. So that's why I'm spinning... Oh, no! It started in Explorer. And yes, it is adobe.exe. So that's what that had been created for. The Acrobat was the starter program that we opened on the first boot. But once it restarted, it was using adobe.exe. So now it's probably going to run regular checks. Not necessarily... Oh, and it did end itself and spawn it on its own? Okay. Process is managed.net. Unknown process console application. Interesting. But yes, as we can see, it is still running in the background. So it's probably running checks to see... Not really grab every single thing that's on your computer. Because as we could see from Process Explorer, it's running a check for different programs and directories. So if it finds any of those that have been modified or newly added, it's going to pull the information for those and send them to a C2 server. But that is it for AgentTesla. It is a rat, not just a simple info stealer, and it is quite nasty. Is that hidden? Wait a minute. In testing, it deleted itself, but this time it's just hidden. Yeah, look at that. It's just chilling on the desktop. It didn't move itself to anywhere else. Didn't delete itself here and drop a new one anywhere. It's just chilling here. At that point, I'd be a little suspicious. But that's going to be it. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel and haven't done so already, and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought was interesting about this particular sample, and if there's anything I did not do that you want to see in future videos, or if there's anything I did that you feel is unnecessary. My name is Larry Bodenheimer. You guys have been amazing, and I will see you in the next one.